Pennsylvania, the Keystone State. Yet could it also be the keystone to unlocking many of the unknown mysteries? In this show, we'll be discussing all of the haunts, local legends, and unknown phenomena that have happened right here in our very own backyard. I'm your host, Matt Boyer, a senior investigator in the paranormal field.
And I'm Jacob Bacasa, a junior investigator.
And this is Unearthing the Unknown. Today's story is a tale with many tellings. One story with many versions. This is the story of the Aurelius Hall fire and the ghosts of the 7th floor. All right, Jake. It's episode 3. I personally am very happy to be back. What about you?
I mean, it's always a pleasure to be back, and especially now that we're in somewhere that is enclosed.
Oh my God, I'm done.
Look, it's the only bit that I've been having. It's the only through line joke that I've been having throughout all these episodes. I gotta keep that running somehow. Maybe they like it. I don't know. Maybe they do.
He doesn't know cold.
But don't give me that.
No.
Get off the story.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? You'll learn enough when we actually start to have these not just be stories, but also doing a little bit investigative.
I know. You've told me.
Yeah. So, all right. First off, disclaimer for everyone. I'm so sorry. When we set up for tonight, I was really hoping you could get a nice view of the window behind us for tonight's story, but instead, somebody years ago decided to put that thing. So, sadly, nobody can see if there is, like, maybe a shadow figure or orb or something behind us. They just get to see Vinny.
I did get freaked out by a chair earlier, so I don't know if that counts for anything.
You get scared at your own shadow.
Well, I mean, this is probably like...
He didn't deny it.
This is... Oh, okay, but this is the closest we've been to the actual, other than like the gristmill, this is like, in this story, frankly, I know more infamously because, I mean, one of my parents texted me out of nowhere, and I was like, hey, did you know about this? Given that I had a mild interest in the paranormal throughout my life.
Yeah.
I've known about it. I think this is one of the more the Faceless Monk. With this
Faceless Monk, maybe Jenny from Benny, which will be next episode, so stay tuned for Jenny from Benny for our next one.
But I do know the infamy behind this, and frankly, I thought it was like, I mean, once you hear about it, I thought it was like way too crazy to be a real rumor, but I mean...
There's so many different versions, and I'm going to be talking about each of them tonight.
Oh,
there's more than one version, yeah.
Oh.
So we'll be hearing, and then you can kind of decide. Some of them do sound a little flimsy and just too good to be true, but hey, you never know. You never know.
What do you mean by too good to be, like we're hoping that, like...
Hey, the creepier or weirder, the better.
Yeah, so fair.
Yeah. So as Jake did say, he did get creeped out by a chair. We did do a preliminary sweep of the area.
Basically seeing if we could see anything weird or extraordinary.
And then, like I said, with my K2 meter here, one of my equipment pieces that I had that I used for a quick sweep, if I turn it on here, see, just sweeping it here does not mean, it's green, so we're not picking up anything. That doesn't mean that there isn't activity. There still could be, and we're just not seeing it.
It might just be centralized somewhere.
Which,
just don't know.
Really, I would believe that it would be more towards the middle of the building, because that's where the story takes place. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we've preambled enough. I feel like we should actually get into the story.
Come on, you don't like our banter? I'm kidding.
No, I really do. But
let's actually get into the story.
Yeah.
So, this story takes place, it's a more modern-day story, because in the past, our past 2 stories have always been in the early years of St. Vincent, within, the first 20 years or so.
I was just saying, but, this place is, almost, 300 years old. I'd say that this is, the earliest you can get.
Well, I mean, Jenny from Benny will be, the more modern-day story. This one takes place about 50 years ago or so.
Just an integer, almost.
I mean...
in between points, so to speak. Or...
Yeah, just because this is a more modern-day story than the previous 2.
Oh.
Yeah. So, just a little bit of history about Aurelius Hall here. It was built in 1922, so this building is over 100 years old. 102 years old. Yeah. Built by a famous local architect, and he named it Aurelius Hall after the 4th Archbishop of St. Vincent. So, good for the Archbishop.
This is just completely off from what we're talking about. Aurelius is a pretty cool name. I gotta give it to that. Aurelius? Come on, man.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And I hope that I'm pronouncing this right. I'm looking here at my notes that his name was Aurelius. I think it's pronounced Steele, Stehle. So yeah,
But,
yeah. So Aurelius Steele. I mean, that's a pretty. Now it's not good.
well, yeah, that just put two and two together. Yeah, that's a
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty cool name.
Aurelius Steele.
There are so many of the monks that seems that in the early years they had like the coolest names ever. I mean, it's freaking amazing.
And they had taste, all right? You gotta give it to them.
Yeah, well, see, just like another monk, looking this up here real quick. Another monk who was mentioned in the first episode, or the first episode of the Pit Stop, was the monk who built Sauerkraut Tower.
Okay.
Wolfgang Traxler. Like, come on, these are badass names. Aurelius Steele, Wolfgang Traxler. I mean, dang.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we got to get back on topic here.
Yeah.
So what happened? It built in 1922 and named for Archbishop Aurelius Steele. Originally, this building was built for 180 rooms, and it was used by the seminarians. Now, at some point, I couldn't find this in my research, but at some time, they did then switch it over to housing students rather than seminarians.
I assume shortly after, like, they transferred this whole thing to, like, a campus building.
Yeah.
This was a boys' school prior to being, like, co-ed.
Yeah. No, so this was used for the seminarians. My best guess is that when they built Wimmer Hall, they kept moving them closer and closer.
Until they built eventually.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. So originally used for the seminarians, it's then turned into student housing for freshmen. This was the freshman dorms. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. For those who have ever lived in Aurelius or are living in Aurelius, you know what we mean. Is frankly, they got too good over in Benny now. Yeah. No, see.
We lived there, arguably.
True.
We did have time.
We had it too good. No, for instance, I have a great connection with the 7th floor of Aurelius because my hometown pastor, Father Bill O'Brien of St. Callista's Church in Kane, he lived here on the 7th floor back when he was here in the late 60s, early 70s.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. Now,
late 60s, early 70s, so he was like right on the precipice.
He was here right before the fire happened.
Oh.
He left in 72, 73. So it's like, wow, that's...
Did you mention already that like the fire took place within 73, or have we not gotten to that yet?
No, so it takes place in 1976.
Oh, 76, that's right, okay.
Yeah, 13 years after the Great Fire of St. Vincent, which took place in
I got
63.
confused. Yeah. I mixed those two up.
So now, Great Fire of 63, for those who are wanting to know more, we touched a tiny bit on it, and I'm not trying to really talk much about it because Stephen Foss and Leo Sun will be talking about that on the anniversary of the fire in January. So tune into the Pit Stop to listen to that story.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. Anyhow, Father Bill, he lived here. I think his room was 314, so he would have been down on the other end.
Okay.
So, or not 314, 714, my mistake. I'm getting my floors mixed up here.
You got all this information in your head, something's bound to get missed.
That or I know nothing and I can prove it. Anyway,
that's how we're going to decide.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, let's actually get to the story. So, 13 years after the Great Fire of St. Vincent, around 4 p.m. on April 30th, 1976, a fire starts in the middle of the hall here in one of the bedrooms. Now, there was over 150 students that were living in the building at the time. They are all evacuated. The fire department here at St. Vincent come out and say that it was most likely an electrical problem, that it was in an empty room, no one was staying there, and...
Now, I gotta ask, because I'm just curious, like, direct center, or like, I mean, it's like, I don't know, like, just...
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much direct center?
Pretty much in the center of the building. Now, the fire spreads from the one bedroom it was in. It engulfs the entire 7th floor here, so where we're standing could have been on fire. But it does build up and actually go into the roof as well.
Is anyone living in that space at that time, or is it?
There were people living up here, yeah.
Well,
now, in the room. Now, this is where conflicts start in stories.
Okay.
Some people say that there was a student that was living there. Some people have said a monk was living there, and then other stories have said that it was an empty room, no one was staying in there. So 3 different stories right there, and each one's going to branch off into more. So
Oh, it's like a choose your own adventure.
exactly. It's like one of those little books that you do you follow the path right? Do you follow the left?
Yeah, choose your own adventure.
Yeah. So if you follow the path right, flip to page 48, or go back to page 13 or whatever.
Imagine you like, I'm not gonna say it, that's a little bit of a dark joke. But like, just imagine like you just go, it's like, you know what? I want to choose this path instead of this path, the monk. Or like, I want to have it be the student instead of the monk.
Oregon Trail, St. Vincent style. You walked into some floor of Aurelius while it's on fire, and died.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well,
We got to get back.
moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on.
So what happens is all the students that are said to be living here get out, and fires. Yeah, everybody's safe. Everybody's fine. The fire is put out within an hour. Over 10 companies, fire department companies, including the college company, the Latrobe Fire Department, Greensburg Fire Department, Youngstown. My guess is probably like Delmont, New Alexandria. All of these.
Everyone's here.
Yeah. Well, you got to think, when the Great Fire happened, there was like 30 different companies that were here. So,
Everyone likes St. Vincent.
well,
Yes.
even this past summer, there was supposedly a fire that happened over near the monastery, and there were like 10 companies here on campus.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I just saw some Snapchat stories about that,
Oh.
and that's how I know about
we
it.
got no time for that.
Yeah.
We're here for
Perhaps
ghosts.
also, yeah. Hey, fire's fun too. You can never go wrong with fire.
Okay, arsonist.
Anyway, yeah. So, put out by like 5 o'clock or so on April 30th. And everybody then had to be kind of put elsewhere just because there was damage to the 7th floor. But actually, the 5th and 6th floors had heavy water damage. The entire building did, but it's actually recorded that there was about 6 inches of water on the 5th and 6th
It's
floors.
just like half a foot of water just collected.
Yeah. So there was a lot of damage. So they pretty much moved everybody out while they were doing repairs.
Yeah.
A rough estimate stated that there was around $250,000 worth of damage.
Is much of the original foundation still here, or was it all?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Like the outside, the exterior is.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's
Yeah.
the exterior.
It's been renovated over the years because you got to think back then in '76, the entire floor was all dorm rooms, and now we have the bottom floor being the lobby, and there's offices down there. The first floor has offices. The
right.
Second,
Okay, yeah.
second and third floor are all offices, and then they've redone the 4th, 5th, and 6th floors. So
Yeah, okay.
yeah, and those have been updated.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, the exterior is still as much original, except for now the metal roof. So,
Yeah.
because the original one was destroyed in the fire. So what happens is this. Where the stories begin is actually after the fire is put out, when the firemen are up here. Now, like I said, some people have had different stories. According to the fire department, everybody got out, everything's fine, electrical fire, there was nothing weird up here, and all these ideas are just the imagination that people are coming up with to give creepy vibes. I've actually been through this door before. I used to work for admissions, and they keep some of their Christmas stuff up here. So when I had to come up here, I did bring my K2 meter, and I was picking up stuff.
Oh, fuck.
So I am actually a believer that there was something here, and
Leave your Christmas.
official records just will not talk about it.
Leave your Christmas decorations in the potentially haunted building. That's fun. But I assume
Almost every building's haunted here.
Well, okay, I see a light switch, but is there like other lights in here that they just don't keep on?
Oh yeah, no, there's lights that'll go all the way down through the hall.
Okay.
There's now most of these little rooms here, like we're right next to 705 and 701.
Okay.
I don't know if there's lights in there because I never came down into these rooms, but I just went out into the middle where there's a little bit more open space and grabbed a couple boxes of ornaments and took them down. So
Fun.
yeah. Anyhow, so these are the different stories. The first one is this: when the fire department came in to the room in the middle where the fire started, everything was fine for the most part. I mean, yeah, there was fire damage and everything, but one thing that was noticed was pretty much a black silhouette of a human body on the floor, right in the middle of the room. There's nothing there. It just looks like the black silhouette.
Like when somebody turned that ash.
Yeah, like some kind of mark left over.
Ew.
Yeah. So kind of like somebody just was caught on fire, died, and they burned there, and they're wherever they died there, that's where the scorch marks made it in to the floor there.
Yeah.
So that is one thing, saying that. Now, like I said, This story says that there was no one living there in that room, but then when they walked in, they find this.
I was gonna say, because like, if the fire department went up there and saw this, they like,
Yeah.
they're the fire department. Like,
Well, and
they're-
other students have said that they saw this in the aftermath too. Is that there was this black scorch marks of a human body silhouette, pretty much.
wow, they have been able to get up here.
You got to think that the students who were living here probably had to come back to
Yeah,
salvage whatever they could.
Oh, okay, and that I was.
Yeah.
I said that and I kind of pieced it together. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
but
fair.
no matter what, this story states that there was no one living in that room at the time. So, an unused room, an empty room, where the fire starts randomly somehow, and when people go in, they find a black scorch mark of somebody, of like a body or something.
Okay.
That's one story. The other ones state that there was a student living in there, and this student did not get out. Now, like I said, official reports say no one was injured, no one died, but could this be a cover-up?
I was gonna say that would be like a pretty
I will believe, as much as, like I said, I did get activity here, I would believe that, everybody did get out and that this is something else.
I also was going to posit the theory that potentially somebody got in because depending on like what people were able to use, because like if the room was empty and people were mixed matching,
Yeah.
Mandela affecting, whatever you want to say to it,
Yeah.
this event, somebody could have gotten in and
Who
did
knows?
something
Who knows?
like that was outside of the building.
Yeah. Story 2. There's 4 stories here. Story 2 is that there was a student living there, and when the fires put out, when they went into that room to see where the fire started, the entire room was charred to a crisp. It was black. It was destroyed, except for 2 things. The bed, which was in the corner. So, from my understanding, the fire started in the middle room that faces out towards Whitmer.
That looks towards that way.
Yeah, going that way.
If there was
So they walk in. So if you walk in through the door, it would have been
if there's a window there, you could see
Yeah.
towards women.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, also let's just say, for an instance, that this was a single room. So you walk through the door, and this bed would have been up against the back left corner.
Okay.
Yeah. So the entire room is charred and destroyed, except for that back left corner where the bed is. The bed is not destroyed, and lying on the bed is a student who died. So the student's dead,
Okay.
and
Are they burned? Ooh.
no.
Okay, that's not the first.
The body and the bed are not burned. They are not on fire. Nothing. But the rest of the room, the student's dead.
That's what I'll interpret. That's the version I heard, but
Yeah.
from where I heard like combined probably the variation of like
Yeah.
there's a charred body on
Yeah.
top of the bed. I think that was on.
So some people do say that it was a charred body, but there's more mystery. Stories of this has said that the body and the bed both were not charred, but everything else was destroyed
In the
in the room.
mystification, I guess, of the story. I
There's
probably
been
said,
so many different changes to it. No,
yeah, I probably said like the glorification or whatever
Yeah.
word that I can't think of at the top of my head like probably happened here.
Now we're going to come back to the student for the 4th story, because that one is the 4th story is the creepiest, and it's probably the most unbelievable one. Though I think it's kind of the most interesting.
Intriguing.
Yeah, intriguing. So the 3rd story is that it wasn't a student who was living in there; it was a monk. It was a young monk, and when they went in, and now this is actually one that I would say multiple people. I won't give out names, but let's just say somebody who I know that works in our security department here and pub safety has told me the story that they have heard that there was a monk who died on the 7th floor during the fire, and when they went in, they found the young monk hanging by a noose in the middle of the room, dead. And the fire still started there. Now, I don't think that is true, because very few. Now, I know, like my first.
Was it have you heard it from just this one person, or have you heard it from other people who kind of?
I've heard that like once or twice, but it's also the most least believable for me. Like I know, for instance, my freshman year, Father Brian Boozle lived in Benny. He wasn't in my pod, but I know some guys that were in his pod. So there have been times where monks do live here in the dorms with students, but for the most part, they're over there at the seminary building and in the monastery.
It probably would have been a little bit more common in like the 60s and 70s.
Well, I mean,
but like again, without like it's all conjuncture.
I might be wrong here, but I want to say that the monastery was built in the 60s or 70s. So,
Oh, well, what do I know?
Yeah.
I'm just spitballing,
Yeah.
honestly.
So, like I said, there have been monks who have lived elsewhere on campus, but
Yeah.
I don't think that there would have been a monk living here in the freshman dorm building. But who knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
Now, let's get to the fourth story. And this is the most interesting one. Fire starts, everybody gets out except for one student. They come here into the room, and this is kind of where the variations come together between the three.
Okay. But excluding the monk.
Well, including some parts of the monk story, but not a monk.
Okay.
Yeah. They go into the room, and the student is dead in the room. But these are the interesting things. Now, there have been different variations of this one as well. The student was hanging by a noose in the middle of the room. Charred, dead, entire room is destroyed along with the body of the student. Now, that's one variation. Another one, and this is the more intriguing one, is that when they went in, the entire floor here, from this door to the other one on the other end, completely destroyed, pretty much charred, on fire, that kind of stuff. They go into the room where it started. And in the middle of the room is that student still hanging by the noose.
Okay.
But the body is not charred. And the entire room, except for the middle of the floor, underneath where the student is charred. In the middle of the floor was a pentagram. And going around the pentagram were candles. Now, it could have been an electrical fire, it could have been a candle knocked over.
Okay,
But they say that that you could clearly see that there was a pentagram there with
etching symbol.
Yeah, with all like the satanic etchings and everything, and the student hanging by a noose above it. So that's kind of also where we come in, that I think kind of touched up a little bit on in the previous episode, where I'm saying like these satanic kind of things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, and that, like
this is kind of bringing that red thread between each of the stories.
And my own personal red thing was like the variation that I was told was that student was found on the bed. I think everything in the room was or wasn't burned. Memory's fuzzy on that detail. But pentagram symbol thing in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
Like those are the three bits and bobs of the story that were told.
Right. So this story, pentagram.
Sorry to interrupt, but like
No,
it really is if you choose your own adventure at that point, because
Exactly.
like all these different variations, you could have like variations that are some of that. Where the one that I said,
We should create a book of create your own ghost adventure at St. Vincent.
Oh, jeez.
We can get so messed up with that, it would never sell in a bookstore. It'd be too awful.
Nobody would want to buy that.
Hey, who knows? They love ghost stories.
Well, and
We get a lot. We have our beautiful viewers.
maybe not in the monks world or like the staff, but anything. But like,
There might be a couple monks that are interested with it, but no. So getting back, pentagram on the floor, all kinds of satanic etchings and stuff within that pentagram. But that is not charted. So like the circle that went around the pentagram, so the exterior circle there, around that is charted, but from the circle inward, or like the star, or whatever you want to say, and all the other little markings in the middle are not charted. They are completely as they were. Somehow drawn or carved, who knows what they were. And the student above it, hanging, dead, but is not on fire.
well, I was gonna say that it would be like a seal of some sort, like of protection for that area, if you want to call it that.
I am not going to say anything like that because of what that would be, and that would be,
It wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
It would be bad. I'm just saying it as a potential possibility. I don't think, I hope not. It's the most outlandish story, so I mean, hopefully it stays in legend.
Well, and I think that is, many people have kind of thought that is the most least possible that happened.
It's too fantastic.
Yeah.
It's
It's fantastic. I love how you said it. It's fantastical. Because it is interesting, and that would be something that...
It's morbid curiosity at that point.
It is morbid, too. I mean, if the paranormal investigators, we would be... And I've told this to some of the other people that I've worked with, and they are very intrigued and wish that they could come here and do, like, a full campus-wide shutdown ghost hunt. But that would be, like, Ghost Comic-Con here, because we would need so many investigators. There is actually Ghost Comic-Con. I've been to it. It's at Gettysburg.
No, I just found that funny. Continue.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't there during the con. I was there right before.
Well, yeah, I just
But
find
I've seen all the plans and everything. Some friends of mine are the ones who put it on, and it's pretty big.
I like the idea of a ghost con. It's fun.
Oh, it happens. Many of them happen around. But no, really, that's the one that paranormal investigators would love to try and find out if it was, and kind of would hope it's true.
Get the truth of.
Just because of what that would mean, especially when it comes to the paranormal realm and being able to really interact. So, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose that's
Yeah.
I suppose that's true.
Now, like I said, that one, I'm mixed on it. Like, I wish it was true and I want it to be true, but at the same time, I don't think it's possible.
I would hope it's not true. Like, at least for like my own sake of keeping human decency intact.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
But like, crazier things have happened.
Exactly.
It's like.
So that's the fourth one there. And really, each of these have been told, and as you can tell, yeah, there are so many different branches off these stories that no one can tell heads or tails with it.
You could mix things together and
Exactly.
nobody would know whether it's true.
And like going back, if this was true that a student did hang himself, or he was in his bed, but there was a pentagram or some kind of demonic
There's
symbolization,
a ritual or something. taking
there is
place.
then the question going back: could this have been the faceless Paul monk, who may still be here on campus? Is he
influencing things.
Well, I mean, like we kind of said, some of the stuff that the monks and Paul Keck were kind of going on. I mean, this was almost, it wasn't entirely, but it was almost like a satanic worship when they were believing and kind of in this trance of this monk. So could it be something along those lines that the faceless monk came back and was here to the student telling
You know what
him
it also sounds like, in a sense, and this might exceed the realm of possible because if it was influencing people,
Yeah.
but it almost sounds like a bit of like an egregore in a sense. Which I'm gonna do a brief explanation, but like if you ever heard of a tulpa, which like you can create like a physical or like I guess metaphysical, some other. You have to do more research, but
Yeah.
again, if you ever heard of a tulpa, you create this like imaginary thing from your imagination. And egregore is a step up from that, where it's like a collective belief from people. It may can start with one person. I don't know. I haven't read much about it myself, but like in essence, an egregore is like a group thought form that can like manifest and like be able to do things.
Right.
That's the
That's
idea.
where you're kind of thinking this is going. Yeah.
Well, it's not where I'm thinking it's going, but it's another interesting.
It's a possibility.
It's a layer to add on to the. It's
Now-
another thread.
I don't want to believe that it was the faceless monk back again, but just that there have been these kind of dark presences or dark things that have happened in St. Vincent history. So, like I said, if that pentagram was around, we can't tell for sure.
I want to add the caveat of potentially dark because I mean, who knows what the faceless monk really was? If this was really demonic or anything,
Right.
It could not be. Let's add potential just so we cover our bases.
Yeah. And see, we don't know for sure.
Of course.
And we probably never will. Unless, we happen to talk with somebody who lived here in the spring of 76 and knows exactly what happened or can tell us more of what they remember. If any member of the class of 1976 is watching, please contact us.
Leave our email.
RadioWSVC@gmail.com. That is our official email. Everybody keeps talking about, please contact us for this show or that show. RadioWSVC@gmail.com is the best way, or, get a hold through one of our student emails.
Of course.
But no, we would love to hear if any of the alumni from 76 were living here on the 7th floor at the time and can give us a little bit more
I
insight.
think somebody did give a testimony at some point for another podcast covering all of
Well, and that's what I'm about to go into now.
Okay.
Multiple people have reported different incidents that have happened here in the building, including one being the wonderful Dean of the McKenna School, Michael Urich. Dean Urich and I were talking about this, and he's told
That's why
me,
his name sounds familiar. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. That took me
No.
something.
you're part of the school of AHSS. I don't blame you. I'm sorry, he's part of them. I'm kidding. All the schools are great. No. So what happened is this.
Mostly.
Dean Urich has even made comments about stuff that he's noticed when here in the building. But students who have lived on the 6th and 5th floors have heard different things happening up here, where they've heard footsteps coming up here from the 7th floor when no one would be up here. It'd be like late at night. Like, I mean, it's right now.
I gotta comment real quick because it's like you said, footsteps. They have to be going like stomping real hard in order for them to be heard on like the fifth floor.
Well, so it's almost 9 o'clock when we're recording this right now.
Okay.
So it'd be like this time or later that you hear, some kind of footstep walking across the floor. Now, the floor is still pretty old in there, so I can understand. But you're hearing footsteps above. Some students have said that they've heard what sounded like dragging furniture.
Oh well, that would be able to
Yeah,
be heard from
like
the fifth floor.
if you were dragging like a
sofa
or a sofa, hearing that dragging. Well, now some of these have been heard on the fifth floor, some on the sixth floor. The footsteps has been one. The sounding like dragging of some kind of things have been heard. Another interesting thing is we're in the stairwell that if you enter through the lobby of Aurelius, that first door there to the side that goes all the way up, that's the one that
if you're looking straight at the basilica from outside, like head on, looking right at the basilica, like over where Aurelius is, we're in like
the doors to Aurelius are right.
Yeah, we're like we're above the front doors.
Yeah, we're above Aurelius. So if you're in that stairwell, this stairwell, and actually this has been heard in both, but from what I've been told, it's been this one more than the other one.
Oh, really?
Wait.
I would imagine it'd be.
No, I'm saying, you're right. Yeah, it's that one. So it's the one that kind of connects over towards Alfred.
Facing Carrie.
Yeah, students have stated that they have smelled burning wood from this floor.
Oh. See, and that gets into like an interesting theory that I've heard where like...
I have a buddy who lived on the sixth floor when he was here. He has since graduated. But he lived on the sixth floor, and he's even said that he smelled burning wood from the floor above him. So he came down into his room, and even when he would be in the hallway, he could smell it.
That's interesting to me because
think like a campfire or something. Now, probably not like that, but almost like that smell that you get when you're at a campfire. Something
smoky.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because I've again like all conjecture and theory, but like imagining that like a haunt or a memory of an event imprints itself to a location and then repeat. Some people can say that that's what hauntings are, is like a memory of, or like the emotions or emotional memory of something repeating and imprinting to a location. But like, it's all conjecture. Like, I'm just spouting off ideas that I have in the moment.
Yeah. So no, there have been other different instances of hearing things. Even students, they have said when coming up here. Now, the other door, we were over there earlier, you kind of saw that it has kind of like that gate look over it, so you can't see in there as good as you can this one, but I've had students say that they've looked through both of them, and they've been able to see things moving in there, almost like a shadow moving in between the hall from one room to another, or just kind of like standing there in the middle when they'd be looking. What would happen is, if you kind of look down, if you kind of see...
I don't know if you can see...
Well, we'll bring it in, which they won't be able to see as much. But
we'll probably cut to a clip of like.
So look in just for a second there, and you can kind of see how the walls kind of open up there, just past these two doors. See where I'm talking about?
Yeah. So yeah.
I've had students tell me that they have seen where it kind of opens up a little bit more. That they've seen like a figure walk from one side out. Yeah. So that's it. So actually, no. Here, you go over here. So you're back in.
Okay.
So let's say that I'm right now in one of the opening hallway areas, and everything that they would just walk out and look right at them.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'll probably remind you of this in like the edit, but like as we're talking, like have clips of like the inside of the room like to play over as we're talking, because like
or we do that now. Now, granted, because we are recording on both YouTube and Spotify, anybody who's listening to this,
sorry,
not going to be able to.
Sorry, audio listener, I forget that we go on Spotify sometimes,
and we'll also be on a few other things where they'll only be able to hear the audio.
Yeah, we love you, audio listeners, but I'm sorry this is just like sometimes a video thing only.
Yeah. Well, they hear the audio, but it's better when you see it on YouTube and you get to see us talking. And
you get to see the actual places,
But we'll make sure to pick up the camera here and kind of show you guys at the end of the video, which should be coming up here soon.
Okay.
But there have been other instances of hearing things, of seeing things here. There was nothing beforehand, before this fire. There was no reports of anything going on here, except for maybe freshmen being freshmen in those early years. And let me go back. This also tells you something. This is before Benny. This is before Rooney. This is back when Bonnie and Jerry were only for seniors and juniors because they were the newest buildings and they were the nicer buildings.
Man.
Think about saying that now. You lived in Jerry. Think about those being brand new and those actually being considered good.
I would love to see a brand new Bonnie and Jerry. That would be freaking interesting.
Well, also thinking those were like the rooms that you wanted to have. Like everybody now always wishes that they could get into Rooney or they could stay in Benny because they don't want to be living in Wimmer. They don't want to be living in Aurelius. They don't want to be living in Bonnie.
I don't know. Aurelius has got some nice rooms.
Aurelius is nice, but like Bonnie and Jerry and Wimmer, people say that they don't want to be living in. Think about you living in this building and actually wishing that you could get into Bonnie and Jerry. No. Get back here. Get back here. So yeah, people have said that they've seen all kinds of interesting things. I've had some say that they've seen like a white orb fly through, that they've seen some kind of shadow figure walking through. They haven't been able to tell me exactly, but they would just see, like in the blackness, that they would just see like some kind of black figure. They couldn't say whether it was of a person, what it was, or even if it did have just blackness, and that you could just see like some kind of black figure moving. But it would be so far back that you couldn't really see anything, just see it move through the actual darkness in there.
I don't know. Maybe I wasn't scared by a chair then. Maybe I did catch something. I was looking through the viewfinder of the camera the whole time, so like maybe I did see something, but
yeah,
I don't know. I'll never know probably.
Well, we're still going to try and open up your inner eye and abilities to working with paranormal.
I kind of want to stay close to that, not gonna lie. It'd be more interesting to me as like somebody who's just like a fresh face, like just baby face, kind of going into this whole thing. Just
yeah.
I don't know. It'd be
maybe for spring break I'll take you up to Lilydale. You'd love there. We could maybe do an episode from Lilydale. Probably not.
Future ideas.
Probably not.
Write that down, future us.
Well, actually, probably not, just because Lilydale, as neat as it is, and I highly recommend anybody who's interested in the paranormal go up there. That's where the spiritualist movement started. They're very limited when it comes to like doing investigations and recording and stuff like that.
You did mention you went on a trip there once.
Oh, I go up there all the time. I love it. I was creeped out by it the first time, but then I fell in love with it, and I love going up there. Yeah. So.
I mean, you got anything to wrap this all up? Or?
Well, really, students still have heard and said things. No one can say for sure. Is it just somebody coming up to get the Christmas decorations for admissions? Probably not.
To be determined.
But still, the stories remain, and they still grow and continue on.
They spread, for one thing.
Yeah. So why don't you bring the camera over here so those who are watching on YouTube can kind of...
Well, I was going to say, we also took some footage earlier so we can...
I'm not going to use that.
Oh, come on. You can just mute the audio and just show it.
Bring it down a little bit. So as you guys can see, you can see the light there at the other end.
I'm just like zooming in a little bit.
But right past, you can just see a little bit there. Actually, yeah. So right there at the edge of the left side of the screen, you guys are able to see a pole that goes to the fire alarm, and then one right behind it. You
can almost actually see the edge of the wall, too, from where I'm looking.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about, is that edge of the wall. It would have been somewhere in there that you would have seen like a black figure or something. But halfway down, you can see, so you can see the chair there. That's the chair that Jake got scared by.
Yeah.
Just a little before that, probably I'd say, 8-10 feet coming more our way would have been right around where that room is. Or it was, where the fire started.
I mean, it's hard to tell really from here, but like yeah, you can still see something from it.
Yeah. Okay. As we get our technical...
Yeah, excuse us for a quick moment. There we go.
But that's all that I really have for this episode. And next week, I know we said we'll do Jenny for Benny, one of the most famous stories. However, little sneak peek into next week. Did you know her name is actually not Jenny?
No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be okay. I'm not gonna say anything more about that, but we'll say that for more next week.
As for now, anyone who lives in Aurelius or we've had other professors. Like I said, Dean Yerk has heard and seen things. I know some of the other professors have heard and seen things down on the lower floors, and also if they went here and stayed here in Aurelius, talk with any of them.
Contact
But
us.
anybody who,
Por favor,
yeah,
please.
anybody who still continues to hear something, let us know. Still, things will happen all the time. But that's all I have for this episode. And we just continue to explore and unearth the unknown. So until next week, I'm Matt Boyer.
And I'm Jacob Bacasa.
See you next week. Hey there, listeners. I'm Matt Boyer, station manager of WSVC Radio. If you like what you're listening to, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button to be notified with all of our updates. Every day, one of our shows will be releasing a new episode. Stick around and tune in.